every day, every season. I ball. I ball. I ball every day, every season. Ball. I ball. I ball. I ball every day, every season. I ball. I ball. I ball every day, every season. Ball. I ball.
Welcome back to the show, ladies and gentlemen. I'm your host, Deshaun Fauntleroy. You're now listening and watching the roster that's powered by iBall Media. We're going to get started. I got a gentleman on here. Tell us who you are. What's your name? What school do you go to? What sport do you play? And what's your position?
My name's TJ Colvin. I go to Astoria High School. I play football, track, and basketball. But for football, they have me down at the razor position, the 5, and also a slot receiver.
Now, tell us how you got started playing football. What was your early experience?
Started football kind of as 7th grade. We moved down here from kind of a bigger populated, Phoenix, Arizona to Astoria. And so we realized that sports was a big thing here. So we got into it here.
So the first time, what made you play football in that first year in 7th grade? How did you know what I mean?
Yeah. It's kind of a funny story is that my dad knew the head coach. He went to school with them because it's a small knit community. A lot of people stayed here. And my dad knew the head football coach. He knew that my dad just moved down here. He sent a text saying the practice is at the field, start time. If you'd like to come, you can come. And the rest is history from there.
So you fell in love with it?
Yep.
Yeah. What was your first position?
My first position was offensive lineman, right tackle. So
you know what I know what I like about that is I've had friends, I have a friend, his son went to Nevada as a hooper, played at University of Portland. Now he's playing professional basketball overseas in Italy, but he played football, and his first position, he purposely made his son play offensive and defensive line to build mental toughness and learn the game from inside out. So I'm sure at times you can reflect on that early toughness and getting a good grasp of the game. Speaking of your dad, man, I want to talk about family values. What things have you learned from your mom and dad that you take to sports communities and your academic community?
My dad has taught me, and my mom and dad have taught me so much. Just be the best you possibly can be. Give it everything you got, no matter what. And I take that everywhere. Even sports and on the field and off the field. Give the best I possibly can. Be the best person I can be. Treat everyone with respect. Let your actions do the talking. More of doing the talking. Just be the best.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Those are some good leadership qualities. Just let your actions do the talking than letting your mouth do it. Sometimes we got to know when to shut up. Now, in terms of being a leader in your community, what's it like for you when you do have to be vocal, when you're called upon to rally the troops? What has that experience been like for you as far as becoming an older or an elder within your football community?
It has been an experience. Because there is a lot of different personalities that you have to blend with on a football team. I'm sure you know that. So you gotta, pick your words wisely. Sometimes you have to step on some people's toes to get a point across. So that it's been a learning curve, trying to mix all the personalities, trying to be that voice to lead.
Yeah, I like that. And if you're listening to this, if you're just joining, you got to, as a leader, you got to learn to pick your toes wisely. But when you're indebted to the program from day one, when you're that guy, it's like he said, you can't be afraid to step on toes because it's your team, it's your community. And when you're trying to get somewhere collectively, everybody has to understand that. So that's well spoken. I can appreciate your maturity on saying that. That's big.
Thank you.
Throughout COVID, we're almost a year into this COVID thing. It's been frustrating I couldn't put myself in your shoes. I don't know what that feels like to not have a junior or senior season. I don't know what I would be doing. So I can kind of understand how some athletes fall off. They start drinking, they start smoking, they start partying, they get into the video games. You know, I understand the video games, I played them, so that it's a balance, but you can't be one-sided. You know, it can't be like a teeter-totter thing. So talk to us about what you've done to persevere through COVID.
What it was when I found out my season got canceled. It was okay. We start training for football. It was that get into it. You know, we can't miss a step. You know, and now the season, we know how it's going to be, and you know, taking that time off can be very crucial for a lot of people because the season's not going to be like how the season has been in the past, where there's a playoff and you can skim in. It's win or lose, and you know, I assume that's how it was going to be the whole time. So I just, you know, got onto the training and stayed on top of it. You know, didn't let my foot off the gas.
Yeah, I mean, I really appreciate what you're saying, because you said you can't you can't miss a step, and then at the same time you can't skip steps. So everything is in a progression. Sometimes we have to regress to progress, you know, and figure things out with this COVID thing, and then we keep moving. And I always tell my kids, they're still going to recruit. You still have to run, you still have to train, you have to do everything, you still have to do your skills training. They might have to look at 7-on-7 footage. They might have to look at 6 games of footage, but they're going to come and get people. Now, you know, as we get into the fourth quarter, what advice would you give to young athletes?
For young athletes is just to train, you know, don't goof off and, you know, take, you know, your middle school games or your practices, you know, not serious, because those are, you know, little things. It's little things that build up to the big picture. You know, you can't, you know, skip steps. You got to just build up to it, and it will all eventually happen. So, you know, starting off young is a great thing. You know, get into sports super young. I wish I did get into sports a lot, you know, earlier than I did in 7th grade, but it is what it is, and I work with it. And it's just, you know, keep training, you know, stay on top of it, you know, don't take it for granted, because it can go away in the snap of a finger.
Yeah, man, I really think you need to give your mom and dad more props, because you speak with a high level of maturity. You know, you're speaking like you've been in college for 3 years, the way you reflect on things. So before we close out, you're being recruited right now. What schools are recruiting you?
We got Lewis and Clark, Pacific. We got a few community colleges. We got one down in Ohio, Florida, but it's hard for me. You know, it's going to become a big decision. You know, I would love to, you know, stay in Oregon, and also, you know, I don't want to go across the country, because my family is a big supporter of me, and you know, I wouldn't be in this spot without them. So I would like to, you know, I probably will be looking at school, you know, in Oregon.
So if I'm a recruiter and I'm asking you, why should I recruit you? Why should the school that I represent invest $200,000 or $300,000 in your education over the next 4 or 5 years?
Because I'm going to give you everything I got. There isn't going to be a day where I'm going to, you know, be like, do I want to go do this? Or it's going to be, I'm going to go do this. I'm going to have a schedule. I'm going to give you the best I can, day in and day out. I'm going to be able to represent the school on the field and off the field every day, 7 days a week for 4 years. I'll be a representative for that school, where they can, you know, put me as the face of the school if they had to.
Wonderful. Ladies and gentlemen, you heard it here first. I'm Deshaun Fauntleroy, your host with The Roster, powered by iBall Media. I want to thank you for coming on, man. I want you to
thank you. Thank you for having me. I appreciate
parents letting you come on, you taking the time to come on and really, you know, giving articulate answers. So peace and blessings.